A lot of people either leave their FPS uncapped or they cap it at their monitor refresh rate. Both of those can actually make your game feel worse. The goal isn't just max FPS, the goal is smooth, consistent frame pacing. When you leave your FPS uncapped, your system pushes as many frames as possible. But that usually means that your frame times keep changing. 1 second you're at 180, then 150, then 130, and even though those numbers sound high and seem good, the game can still feel less smooth, and especially when aiming down sights, you'll see a massive drop in FPS, which can make it really hard to win a gunfight. Now, there's a few ways you can go about capping your FPS. One of them is capping it just below your monitor refresh rate if you're using G-Sync. So like how we talked in my last video, you kind of want to be a few frames under your max refresh rate so that you're in that G-Sync window. Absolutely key. Another way to go about capping your FPS would be capping towards your average frame rate. Now, this one is going to be the most consistent when it comes to frame times because it's not going to be jumping from like 100 to 200 on a map like Streets where there's a lot of variables. Now, let's start with tools. The in-game cap in Escape from Tarkov is not very precise. I had a few people asking me, hey, should I just use the in-game setting to cap FPS? And I would say no. Driver or external caps like NVIDIA Control Panel or Rivatuner Statistics Server or RTSS produce more consistent frame times in general, which is exactly what we want. Now that we have our tool determined, our next step is to actually cap the FPS. I really recommend using RTSS just because it makes it really easy to change your FPS cap on the fly. The NVIDIA Control Panel can be a little slow sometimes and finicky to deal with, so I just use RTSS since I use MSI Afterburner anyways. And here you can really mess around with the settings and see what works best for you. I've basically been testing the two methods I talked about here, capping towards your average and capping at 3 Hz under your monitor's refresh rate. And I think I found a pretty good balance. So what I do is on Streets of Tarkov, which is a notorious map for incredible frame dips and inconsistent frames, I've been capping my FPS at 120 because I can get anywhere from 80 to 120 frames. And I don't want to limit myself at 80 or 90 when I know sometimes I'm going to get more depending on where I am on the map. For every other map though, I've been capping at 3 Hz under my monitor's refresh rate, which is 260, so I'm capping at 257. Now, if you watched my previous video, you can go ahead and skip this, but I just wanted to reiterate the settings that I'm using here. So we have G-Sync on, make sure that you have all these checkboxes enabled or else it's not fully on. We have VSync on in NVIDIA Control Panel, but not in game. And we have our FPS capped at either our average or 3 below our refresh rate. Now, again, this isn't going to magically fix your game, but if you really feel those big stutters when you're dropping from 170 to 70 FPS on something like Streets of Tarkov, this could help if you're a little bit more sensitive to that. Another really important aspect of this is not running everything on low. It can actually make the game feel worse because the game is so CPU intensive already that when you turn the in-game settings down, you're putting more strain on the CPU and the GPU is just kind of sitting there doing nothing, right? So you want to make sure that you balance things out accordingly. It will really depend on your rig. So if you want to go ahead and comment down below your current rig, and make sure you put like your CPU, your GPU, your RAM, resolution, all the info is better. And I can try and help you out. I have been testing different settings. So you can see here, I'm actually on ultra detail, which has looked really good. And I've been able to tweak it so the frame rate is almost the same as something like medium or high. So I'm hoping to kind of get that down and share that with you guys. But until then, I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.